Going back to Burnley, that was really symbolic, your action that day, for the benefit of anyone who doesn't know what happened that day. Perhaps you want to explain what happened, why you did what you did, and obviously this is the precursor to Hammers United and everything that's happened in a way.
Okay, well, basically, as everyone knows, there was a big march organised, which was called off. I had made my decision that I would march anyway, and in the end I marched on my own, perhaps you could describe it that way. But in the pub across the road there, the King Edward, there were about 150 people who said they would march, and the lesson to be learned from this is if you're going to march, don't go in the pub beforehand. I've got terrible eyesight, can't see anything really, and so I had my glasses with me that you can see the match with, not my reading glasses. My good mate Dave Larkin, he was at the start of the march, and the reason we went in the pub wasn't because we were all alcoholics. The point is, we felt that if so many hundreds and hundreds congregated at the start, the police might say, no, this could get out of hand and disperse it. And there were a lot of people in the end of the segment, and there were a lot of people across the road, a lot of people all over the place. And I'm waiting and waiting, and again, many people know I just can't do new technology, I just can't do anything. I can't change a plug, I don't drive, I'm hopeless. And so my phone doesn't make a sound or anything when I get a message, I just have to keep looking at it. And I had the wrong bloody glasses on. And the next thing I knew, Dave Larkin rang me up. He said, well, where are you? I said, well, he said, we've gone. I was really upset, so I charged out of the pub. I said, come on. Oh, I've just bought 6 pints. Oh, I bought 3 pints and 3 Jaeger bombs. Lesson learnt there. So I never even caught the march up. I ran all the way, or as far as I could. Got there, a couple of old friends were there. And I really let everyone down. I felt really felt bad. So obviously we went in the match, didn't plan to do anything, and then these youngsters went on the pitch. I have to say, in hindsight, amongst some people, not everyone, I became a hero. And these poor young kids, they got absolutely chastised. Oh, they're idiots and all that. And when we went to court, you saw those poor boys and they were terrified. They were bloody terrified in court. They've now got a criminal record. OK, they did a criminal thing, I accept that. But it didn't merit some people, and I don't think it merited, and obviously it's going to be very controversial, but I'm going to say it. I love Mark Noble, he's a great guy, and no one can do the right thing every time, and spur of the moment. Well, I don't think he should have done that. There's no way that anyone on that pitch was threatening anyone. But I thought, right, I've got to do something. I went and I saw the corner flag, and it was then when I realised, you know what, came to me, the bomb sting. Apparently Baz Cox, who a lot of people know, was by the side of me, so he said, I remember him there, but apparently he said to me, don't do it, you'll lose everything. And apparently I said, I've lost everything already. By then I realised what the stadium move had done. As far as I'm concerned, it's the end, West Ham's finished. So yeah, I didn't have to run. The stewards are so hopeless, I could have walked backwards and got there before the stewards. Obviously there was an exchange with Ginge. On the court footage I did sort of push him a little bit, barely, but he's a big strong man, he could crush me with one finger, and he said, what's going on? I think I said words to the effect of, well, I've been here 50 years, Ginge, you've been here 12, look, we love you, but get out of the way. And he was really good. And then eventually the stewards got there and I was led away, and he asked for a season ticket, I gave it to him. Then I went up the pub, and then I got hammered. I was really in shock. I'm not daft, it was obvious that I was going to get arrested, get banned. I went into shock. My son was with me, he won't go anymore, he hates it. He'll be on the protest, he only comes now, protest, go to Glasgow, he won't go in the Souls Bowl. We had a good, booze up that night, and in the morning, as is customary when you wake up with a hangover, you look for where you have to put all your money. And I said, I can't find my money. He said, Dad, you spent it, or you had to borrow some off me. So I did go into shock, really, and then a couple of days later, there hadn't been a knock at the door, so I gave myself up at the local police station. They didn't know anything about it. And the police treated me very well. But the police had been fine right from the start. When I went to court, the only thing I would say was, he's not a judge, he's the magistrate. He was very hard on the thing that I showed no remorse. Well, how can you protest about something and then say you're sorry? I mean, that's bloody ridiculous. So of course I showed no remorse. And I'm banned for life from West Ham, home and away. It doesn't really work at away games. I mean, what they can do is refuse to sell me a ticket. I know that I would get seen all right. I know this is controversial, but when people have been going 50 years, there's someone will probably offer you a ticket. But I'm a bit nervous of doing that at an away game, because if the club tracked it back to them, I'm banned by the police for 3 years, but I can appeal in September.
And what was the conviction? What was your criminal conviction?
The conviction blimey, it is. Whatever the term is, it's for encroaching on the field of play.
Okay.
Which
was
is,
there a fine involved as well?
it cost me about £1,000 because there was a fine and costs and all that stuff. In fairness to me, firstly, people wanted to set up one of these things you do, and I said, there's no way of doing that. But in fact, and this is not a push for them because I've only got 2 left. Something, 2 separate friends, one of them completely, without my knowledge, did a plastic badge and said, here, sell them, which we did. And another guy, he made these, and he said, look, you know, I want to give you some of the money out of it. And so, in actual fact, it came about level. People have been asking me to get more, but I don't want to be seen as a guy who's made money out of it. So it's just about quits. Of course, with Hammers United, I'm down again now because I've paid for this, that and the other, but not by much. That was about £1,000.
You've announced a decision to stage a protest on the 18th of January before the Everton game. I just wanted to chat to you before we come on to that about the reasons for setting up Hammers United. How did you get to that point? What was your train of thought really before that? And also, if we can talk a little bit about, perhaps let's start with Burnley.
Yeah, look, the Burnley thing. People say about this protest against Burnley. Was it a protest? It's 5 people went on the pitch and a couple of 100 people shouting and hollering. I don't call that a protest. Protest is what we're going to organise, something organised and with a lot more numbers there. But with Hammers United, I thought about it for a long while because I'm so unhappy, personally, with what I consider the disdain with which these people treat our supporters. Many, of course, of whom are my mates and my friends over many years. So I spoke to a few of my friends about forming a group, didn't know what it was going to be called, and everyone said, you're wasting your time, Paul. The fan base is beaten. It's demoralised, it's given up. But I just felt I had to do something. I just couldn't sit by. What's the expression people use now about, I can't let it happen on my watch. And I can't sit and do nothing. And what happened was I got on social media, which is all a bit alien to me, and it's upset me a lot because I really am alien to it. And the way some people have been slagging me personally down on that, which is their right, but it shocked me, to be frank. I thought maybe they'd have some sort of reason, but nevertheless. So, but what really made the decision to go when we did, because we weren't ready, to be frank, was my good friend Lee Rogers. Lee Rogers is now the Joint Secretary. He rang up to get his season ticket. I can't tell you the exact price, but he rang up and said, right, I'm all ready, it's £700 or whatever. And they said, no, it's £750 or whatever.
This was last summer?
Yeah.
The start of this season.
And what it was, he had a Band B ticket, and without telling him, they just moved the seats across. So indirectly, he got a price increase. And he was really upset about it. I said, right, I'm not waiting any longer, let's go with it. So we met in the King Edward VII. Just people that I picked up on social media that seemed to be commenting and seemed to be in the same sort of opinion as I did. We met up there and we decided that we would form a group. Didn't know what the name would be. And the original date, actually, by coincidence, was the anniversary of the Burnley protest, and we thought maybe that wouldn't be a good idea. So it's a few days before or after that. And we had another meeting again in the Edward, and shortly after that we had a members meeting, just an open meeting, anyone who wanted to come along in the Plaistow Social Club. I'm going to give that a plug now, incidentally. We have always said that we'll do our best to help the local businesses left behind. And you've got the Plaistow Social Club, the community centre they call it now, and there's great. If you watch the football there, you put rolls and things on for nothing. And you've got the Victoria Tavern by the station, you've got Paul there and Trudy, and you've got the Lord Stanley, another great pub. One I don't use, but I know is very popular. See, I don't use it. Anyway, there are other pubs I accept.
This is where you've been going since, you are obviously banned.
A long while, yes.
When did that come about?
I got banned shortly, well, instantly really after the Burnley.
So we're March, April 2019, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I went recently to the new stadium, the Soulless Bowl, and I went there to leaflet before the Arsenal match. And so we went for a pint afterwards and to watch the West Ham Arsenal match in one of the pubs in Stratford, in one of the glossy, poncy plastic pubs. And 3 drinks was just about 18 quid. And people can have a beer at Plaistow now. They can get a cab there and they're still quids here. So sorry I've got a plug there. But anyway, so we met at Plaistow. It was 130 there this time. the only way, when people must understand, when you start a new venture, well, you've got to start somewhere. So you have like an ad hoc committee. You say, well, I'll be this, you do that. But we ratified, we got endorsed at that meeting the people who'd started the committee, and we said, does anyone else want to come on? And a fellow there made a very good speech, who we now know as Tross, so he came on. Two I've mentioned, Lee went to the 75 and 80 Cup finals. His dad and his uncles were at the 64, 65 Cup finals. His granddad was at the 1923 Cup final. This will be a reoccurring theme in what I say to you. His family are all from East Ham. Tross's family are Forest Gate and Plaistow. They're local lads. So on from that, we've had several more meetings. But in particular, what was decided at that meeting, they went against the recommendation of the committee, which I think is great. The committee don't run it, they run it in between members' meetings, for a better expression. And there was so much we felt was wrong, and they said, well, you can't say that there's this and the other. We want 3 main points. And the 2 main points that were decided there and then were the stewarding, and they felt that we should lobby the club into realistic expenditure. Now, that might be controversial as a group's aims, but that's what the members wanted. They said it's no good you getting all the stadium good and everything else good and the team get bloody relegated. And we ran out of time because some people were going to the game, and we said, right, we'll have to consider the 3rd point. And we put the 3rd point, put about a dozen different options out to a members' vote, and they voted to look at the feasibility of improving the ground. Now, I've not mentioned this yet, but I think it's now time to mention it. We got somewhere. We're very proud of our steward initiative. It's on the website. It's done some good. Regards to spending money, that remains to be seen. I said right from the start I felt the squad was weak. I'm not a football expert. We'll have to wait and see. But the 3rd thing we struggled with, which was the stadium, because you need considerable expertise in that. And unfortunately, tragically, the guy who was doing it for us, he died suddenly just before Christmas. I think he was 42 or 44. His name was Gavin. Now, I didn't really meet Gavin a lot. Gavin, even though he came onto the committee, he was there really, he had one aim, and he didn't really interact much with the committee or anything else. He had a lot of expertise there. And what I can tell you, we have spoken to architects, and we're not idiots. We know that the soulless bowl is below the waterline. Yeah. The technology now is there, is in place. The stadium can be changed. It would cost £200 million, and I'll explain why they could get that back. Now, I'm not suggesting in any way that the present owners do that. I know they've not got that sort of dough, but future owners with more money, the stadium can be changed. The pitch can be lowered, the seats can all be moved forward, and what we are told is 200 million, but they can get so many more executive boxes in it, it can be made to pay for itself in 10 years.
Okay, so with that investment, £200 million, I'm guessing that includes getting rid of the toxic waste that we understand is buried under the pitch currently, as a legacy from the...
Sure.
That is the Olympic legacy, I guess,
yeah.
in one way.
Yeah.
How would the seats look after that investment? Are you saying that it would be a similar situation to that we had at the Bowl Inn, where the seats would be right up against the ground, or are we just talking about a little bit closer?
It's a fair question, and the answer is I've no idea.
Okay.
Gavin did this, but that was the big thing. Look, it can be done. Everyone's saying it can't. It can be done.
Right.
And let's not be naive. If he's told 200 million, that's not going to... It'll end up more. Everything always does. In principle, Graeme, it is possible.
Okay.
Now, someone's now taken over Gavin's mantle, and he's got to try and put these pieces together. We had hoped to announce something before, but I'm just saying it's possible.
Okay.
And people have been saying that it isn't possible.
Right.
I'm not going to give the name of these architects, but they know what they're talking about. Yeah, so these were the 3 points, and we felt largely we've done a reasonable job on those 3 points. And of course the campaign really switched then to recognition by the club. And it's well publicised, but all the football governance guidelines say they should meet with the supporters, democratically elected supporters groups. And we realised right from the start that this didn't only mean Hammers United, and we realised then and we realise now that what it can lead to is perhaps an umbrella group. You know, that's something we have to look at.
Hammers United are affiliated, we should
point out, affiliated
to the football, it's the FSA
football,
now, isn't it? Yeah.
As far as I know, there are 3 West Ham groups fully affiliated, which is Worcester, Hammers United and Colborne. Others are associate affiliate. We're fully affiliated.
You have to have a democratically elected board. I think that's the
right.
definition, is it, between the two?
Yeah, I'll come back to them in a moment. So our campaign very much was to try and get recognition. We wrote to the Premier League, we wrote to UFA, and we wrote to the Department of Sport and Culture. And 2 MPs backed us. One wrote directly to the club, and one wrote via, I think it's the London Assembly.
You have the MPs in question being?
The MPs in question were Steve Timms, who's a local MP, and Wesley Streeting, another local MP. And the former wrote directly to the club, basically saying, very quickly, why won't you meet Hammers United? He hasn't had a formal reply, but they phoned him, West Ham, basically to say that I was the devil incarnate, keep away from us, and Tross is going to ring him today, but he's not had an official reply. So people started to say to us, well, how long are you going to keep writing bloody letters for? You can't keep doing this. You've got to, and I put a fairly controversial post on, and I said, well, we're not daft. We can only do this for so long. Eventually, we'll either have to put up or shut up. And then I used the P word. I said, we may, at some stage, have to protest. So the club, I got a phone call from Worcester, Sue at Worcester, and she said she'd briefly met the club, just an interrupt, very brief meeting.
Sue Watson,
and that they were keen to meet us. If we contacted them, they would meet us. So the next day, we emailed Jake Heath, asking for a meeting, and he said, yeah, we'll meet you in a coffee shop. So what we said was, well, look, we're not happy meeting in a coffee shop. We're representing thousands of people, thousands of our members. We don't think that's conducive to a proper meeting. They won't let us on the premises, or Worcester. Don't know why, but they won't. And we said, OK, well, what we'll do, we'll suggest a hotel. We'll meet you in the Holiday Inn. You can't be meeting with people coming by with bloody cups of coffee. And we suggested that I meet and Tross. They wouldn't meet me. There's no legal reason why they shouldn't meet me.
What was their reason?
I don't think they gave one. No, in the light that I was banned.
Right.
So we said, OK, well, Stephen will meet as the Joint Secretary, and Lee Rogers will meet as the Joint Secretary. And we did note that, and we said we weren't happy with it. There's no legal reason why they shouldn't meet me. I'm allowed, it's only match days that I'm not allowed in the stadium. So I can go in the Holiday Inn, round the stadium, I can go in the stadium if there's not a match on. And it was a meeting, lasted about an hour and a half, and what our people put was, what they hoped for, basically, was that the club should disband the official supporters board, and that a new supporters group would be formed ASAP, democratically elected by the supporters, for the supporters, giving the supporters homes. And once that was in place, it's no good bloody well meeting it twice a year or something, every 6 weeks, maybe every month, to put over what the supporters are after, and obviously to monitor progress. We also suggested that the Football Supporters Association be involved in this process. I can tell you that we have contacted the Football Supporters Association. They are happy, they've endorsed that, they're very happy to support us in that, and they'll be reaching out, they may even already have done so, but they'll be reaching out to the club for a date where they can talk to the club about this. The gentleman that will actually, David Rose from the FSA, will be or has written to the club, so that's brought you completely up to date.
Right. Going back to the previous protest group, and going back to that time 2 years ago, there was a fundraising scheme then to raise money for the march, specifically, really, rather than anything else. Is that something you've never considered? As you said, this is costing you money, right? And you're a man who runs his own business, so every minute you spend on Hammers United is essentially costing you money. Does it ever cross your mind about doing
It's a difficult one. Firstly, when I said it's costing me money, let's be clear, I'm about 100 quid down. It's not costing me money. And other members of the committee, it's cost them 20 here, 20 that sort of thing.
But it's still your time as well, Paul.
Well, the time, I'm doing about 30 hours a week at the moment.
It's a part-time job. Well, it's going to be a full-time job, in fact.
Saying to everyone, my internet's been down for 5 days. That's why I've disappeared. So I'm not doing 30 hours at the moment. It's killing me. It's killing my business, and it's not helping Hammers United. But I'll be back online soon. Yeah, a lot of time. Not just me. There's a lot of other people. Lee does a lot behind the scenes. Tross has really stepped up and done loads recently. We've got a new fellow on the committee, I won't say his name in full, Andrew. He's done loads recently. There's a lot of other people doing stuff, but regards pounds, shillings and pence, coming back on that, I'm not going to say his name. One guy's been very critical, saying I shouldn't be involved, we're not transparent, where do we get our money from? he knows bloody well where we get our money from. We don't get any money. He's just trying to cause problems. And it is causing problems now. The last lot of leaflets we did, I got them done for 50 quid, but I paid for them. It's holding us back. But we've said all along, we will ask for no money from anyone for no reason. Now, it is holding us back. Our present email system, we can only send so many emails at a time. Well, we've now got 1,200 members. We can't. It takes about 2-3 days to send something out. So again, a committee member has stepped up. He said, "Look, I've got this. You can have it for nothing for a year, but the year will expire. None of us can work it anyway. We just getting the hang of it." So we have been starting to think about how we can get around that. Sponsorship, perhaps. One guy, on a personal note, on these Mother Brown, I don't know the guy. It just shows you how there's so many good people out there. He sent me a load of badges. And I've said to the committee, look, I'm going to sell them at £1 each, and I'm going to stick it in my pocket, the first 40 quid, and then we'll look at it. But we may have to cross that bridge. The committee split. We're not there yet, but you'll delete it. The committee split on it. See, I'm very much a man of my word, and we've said we're going to take no money off anyone for no reason. So that I'm of that opinion, as is half the committee. The other committees say we've got to move on. So, I don't know, I'm very nervous, but thanks. And there are people that are saying we should get something done. At the moment, Hammers United's taken over my life. Now, I always said that it's not sustainable long term. I will always be there, I'll always play a part, I'll always be on the committee, but we need as much help as we can get. And this new committee member, Andrew, he's really stepped up at a time when I've been offline for 5 days. And there's people trying to cause trouble, maybe the club's planted, I don't know, all sorts of people, and I've not been around, and they've been calling me out by name, and I can't reply. It's really upsetting. But long term, we need more help. We certainly need technical help, but we understand that. But I would hope to be involved with Hammers United in many years to come. But to many of my friends and many members of Hammers United, the word trade union is a dirty word. Okay. But using the loose sense of the word, I would like Hammers United to be there forever, trying to take up supporters' issues, to look after the supporters, to act as a link. We do now, which I'll come on to, with the stewarding and things. If people had a problem, we put them onto the FSA. But I cannot work 30 hours a week for the rest of my life. That's it.
One of the questions I keep seeing on social media, on these at Mother Brown on the forum and other places, people asking you to be specific about what your aims are. Mm-hmm. Now, you've called a protest, but there's still some people who don't seem to get the message. So, for those people, can you explain now exactly what it is you're hoping to achieve?
Firstly, before I explain, let's say for the 1000th time, the protest is not results based, okay? We are fully behind David Moyes, his staff and the team. Those of us who can, because I'm bloody useless, have been twittering people they can, players, people to do, saying, look, we're totally behind you. I know Ian Bishop, he's not there, but he's come back right behind you. Incidentally, when we were giving leaflets out, Tony Cotty took one, gave us the thumbs up. Ray Parlour took one, gave us the thumbs up. It's very difficult for the players can't come out and support us, of course they can't. But in a word, what are we looking for? Well, we're looking for change. That's a one word. But I appreciate it approaches 100 things. So, we've based it around the 10-point plan. Now, obviously, I saw your piece on the 10-point plan. But there's so many other things. And you've got to embrace them. And what it all comes back to is the failure of these people over 10 years as custodians of our club. So it's not just a 10-point plan. Something I feel very strongly about is that 20,000 people have walked away. They would say they've been driven away. Maybe that's too strong a word. One way or the other, they have fallen by the wayside since the move. A lot of these people are personal friends of mine. Some of them have been going 30, 40, 50 years. Their mum and dads before them. Their mum and dads before them. And a normal business would be saying, why? What have we done wrong? Why have you all walked away? Okay, West Ham are just pleased they filled the seats. I went to the Arsenal match, not in the crowd in disguise or anything. I went to Leaflet. I was staggered. I was so upset. Hundreds of people had half and half scarves. Now look, if there's a man taking his son or his daughter, or a lady taking the son or daughter for the first match, I understand that. First ever match, keep it as a souvenir. Someone's coming over from Italy or from France, or Norman from Malta, got to get a plug in for you, Norm. They come up, I can understand that. But there were hundreds of people. And you see, West Ham don't care about that. I understand they're running a business, but they have to understand that that's not supporters from the heart. So what has upset these 20,000 supporters is the 10-point plan. But there's so many other things. I said at the start about my friend Lee, and he'd gone to buy the season ticket, and they'd moved. Well, my other mate Danny's from Plaistow, he's got a tattoo made in Plaistow. Danny and his family have been going to West Ham 50 years, his family before. He does still go. But Danny would never join an organisation like Hammers United. He'd never protest. He rang me up and said, right, here's my email address, sign me up. I said, Christ, what's happened? He said, I've gone to renew my season ticket and they've moved it into a higher band, the same seat, exactly the same as Lee. So he says he's not going anymore for next year. So let's get on to the stewarding. What a disgrace the stewarding is. There's hundreds of people banned. Loads of them have been banned for standing up, swearing. I'm very, very confident I'm right in saying that the majority of those never got the right to appeal. I think I'm right in saying they were never allowed to see the video evidence against them. So straight away, you've got, I think it's about 400, but I might be wrong, all their friends and families. Okay. We go back to stewarding again. A lady, Lizzie, never met Lizzie, she rang up, can you help us? I said, well, what's up? My friend has been a season ticket holder for over 40 years. He's in his 50s, he's never been in any trouble. She said, he came out of the ground with half a pint of beer and we went for it. She said, no, he wasn't an angel, he didn't fight him or anything, she said he could have reacted better. But they came at him really aggressively, 4 stewards. He ended up face down in a puddle in the pouring rain. There's a supporter, 40, 50 years, banned. I said, well, get him to contact us, we'll get him in touch with Amanda Jacks. I said, we'll see what we can do. She said, hey, well, he's a very shy man. And he didn't. And if you're listening, there's still time. There's no time limit on it. He gets in touch, we'll see what we can do. There's another one gone. And again, if the stewards, apparently there was an old steward there, and he said, I'll vouch for him. Police were called, they wouldn't charge him. You know? There's another one gone. And probably all his friends. Okay. So, stewarding. Let's move on then to the away fans. The away fans, quite a topical thing apparently, though I've been offline. People let me know what's going on best they can. Another good friend, Bobby Garrett, he's from, he's a London estate, he's out of Forest Gate, and his family before me. He said, I'm never going again. What's the matter, Bobby? He said, 2 rows in front of me against Spurs, there's a guy just sitting there, playing it all to see in a Spurs shirt. Not with a coat on, not covered up. He said, I'm not going again. So we wrote to West Ham, as you probably know, a long while ago after the Man City game, and we said, look, there's an awful lot of away fans in the West Ham bit. Now listen, we know it goes on. I never will bring an away fan in our park. I will meet them in the pub and have a drink with them, and I'll meet them afterwards. That's my choice. But we've all done it, we know it happens, it's not a crime. They sit there, they show a bit of respect. Everyone knows they support the other team. You know. But we're getting people emailing us all the time. Every game they go to, there's a different person, and they all support the bloody away team. So we wrote to West Ham, we said, you know, something's going wrong here. And to use the posher words, what did my friends say? It's an unacceptable level of inactivity amongst the safety and security stuff. They're not, what I would say is they ain't doing nothing. Okay. And we wrote to West Ham and we said, look, we'll meet you if you want to chat about it, but we think stewards need more training, you're not up to the job. We think you need to review your procedures. Wrote back, evidence fine. So we played Norwich at home, we've got hardly any fans, there were plenty of them in the rest of the bit. Then we had Man United at home. So we wrote to them again and we said, look, Man United's coming up, there's a lot of history between the 2 sets of fans. We really need to review, everything's fine. And we sent copies of this to the Premier League and to the FSA. So that was the end of it. There is debate on our Facebook page, so I've been down for 5 days, which is there for all to see. I said, well, what can we do? I said, when we play Liverpool, we played Man United and Liverpool, they're the two worldwide clubs with other people like them. Man United never scored a goal. My friend Matt, good lad, he would never protest about anything, but he's coming. Okay, come back to Matt in a minute. He said against Man United, Paul, there was people just coming through the turnstile with Man United jackets on. And we've got a steward who's involved in Hampshire United. He says he is told don't take any notes. That's what he's told. And I'm on record on those debates saying, well, we've got to play Liverpool when you can be bloody sure they'll score. I'm really worried about what could happen against Liverpool. So here we are 4 months later, and I'm told, because I'm off social media, that there's Liverpool fans all over the place in the ground. When we finish this, I've got to go and meet the stadium safety manager, and obviously I'll mention that to him. You know. So, again, people have walked away because they don't want to sit next to away fans. You know. And people will say, oh, everyone should get on and all of it. Of course they should. But let's live in the real world. There's women, there's kids in that section. And all it takes is one bloke, one beer too many, or maybe he just can't take any more as Liverpool scored their 4th goal and the bloke sitting next to him starts bloody singing "You'll Never Walk Alone." So it's not good. And they need to take action, and they haven't. So I'll move on. There was a party some months back. That upset people. The players took ages to get there. There's probably a reason, don't blame that. Did those kids get a glass of pop? Did they got a glass of water? So probably people went away from that. I know. Disgusting. Then we're going to KARREN Brady. We played Arsenal 2-3 years ago in a night match. We got hammered in a night match. Slaughtered. I think we might have even taken the lead, but we got hammered. They scored 5 or 6 of them. I'm not so up on the football anymore because I can't go. And KARREN Brady's on the next day showing the bloody cheese board and that. And bigging up the facilities. And West Ham's just got hammered the night before. And then I think it was the Burnley year. Just for a little bit, looked like we might go down. We had Stoke on the night match. It's a relegation game. That's been 7:45, 8 o'clock. Brady comes on, plugging our new radio or TV programme that was on at the same time. So maybe people don't like it. There's 1,000 reasons. The corporate people. I wanted to look this up before I came, and again, I'm down. I'm not online, but I think I'm right in saying the corporate people. A lot of them said, "Look, we don't want the corporate anymore. It's rubbish. We want to downgrade to what we call a normal season ticket." No, they have to go to the back of the queue. So the season ticket waiting list. Let's go on to that. You have to pay a tenner. That's the only way you can get a season ticket. I don't know. That's what they say to get your tenner out of you. People who are existing season ticket holders, they can join up friends. Season ticket waiting list again. Some people who've been on it 2 years get a ticket. Don't get a ticket. People who've been on it 6 months do. The thing's rubbish. Away fans. Look at the recent thing. I'm really getting. You can see it goes on forever. I can go on forever about it. The away fans recently. It's always gone on. You've got an away season ticket holder. He's paid his money up front. They are the absolute loyalists of the loyal fans. Go every silly games like bloody Newcastle away on a Tuesday night, like I used to go to, but can't anymore. These guys go to all those games. But there'll be a wedding, there'll be a funeral. They go sit. So they say to their mate, "Do you want it?" And usually, as it happened with me, you lose money with it. You know, you say, "Oh, give us 20 quid." It's always gone on. So what do the club do? No, they ban them. Don't say, "Look, you shouldn't be doing that." You know, we know it's always gone on. There was nowhere in place for people to sell their tickets back. I recognise there is now, because of the fuss made, not just by Hammers United, but the fan base generally made a big, quite rightly, it was outrage, made a big fuss about it. Again, they can't wait to ban people. What do they do for the away fans? Again, something I've apparently topical, again I've missed because I'm offline. What do they do for our away fans? They decide to put coaches on 10 days before a protest, 3 days before the Sheffield match. They know damn well that no one will take up those coaches because they know bans. Now, I think I'm right in saying, but not sure. Well, I do know I'm right actually. West Ham take, I think, 1 coach to every away game. This is a Premier League club with 60,000 seats. They put 1 coach on to away games. Now, the Hornchurch lads, who I'm good friends with, Hornchurch coaches do a great job. I know that firsthand. And Declan Rice's mum and dad use that coach. Yeah. I know there's another crowd called Irons, and I believe they're very good. And a fella called Mickey, a big lad, he does that. I'm sure they shouldn't have to. West Ham should put it. And I believe, this is where I'm not sure, I believe at the start of the season they said they'd be running 2 coaches. Blimey. They'd be running 2 coaches, even if they weren't full. But I believe that promise wasn't kept and they just run 1. Also, these coaches go from Stratford. Well, so a lot of the fan base, that is of no use whatsoever. Now, I can tell you categorically that Arsenal run coaches, they do pickups. Chelsea run trains. Okay. Now, I'm not advocating West Ham do that because I've looked into it. Hammers United looked into it, and a train actually is really, really, really expensive. The reason being, you have to buy that first class there on the train. Jump on West Ham for that. I know trains are very expensive, but some way, Chelsea get round it. I live in Hertfordshire. When they're on the King's Cross line, the train stops at Potter's Bar. If they're on a different line, the Euston line, it probably stops at Watford or somewhere. There's some Paintless line route. It picks up en route. They use their brains. Okay? Arsenal run coaches for about a tenner a pop every match. And what I had hoped to do at Hammers United, and it just didn't happen, other things took over, what I wanted to do was just to look at certain games, which would be night matches. Some years back we played Liverpool and Manchester at night. People couldn't get home, had to book hotels, that sort of thing. And I thought maybe we could look at it just on obvious games, night games. Now, the FSA is doing some good work on this. And one thing, to digress, is that what they're looking at is trying to get it so you buy a ticket for a match, not a date. So a West Ham fan who lives in Burnley or something, or wherever, he can buy a ticket, and that ticket is valid even if the kick-off time changes. Now, I appreciate that's out of what West Ham says. But again, what West Ham have to realise, and football in general, is you're not just looking at away fans. Probably half that fans don't live in London anymore. And some of my best mates come from Wales, from Birmingham, from Southampton. But getting back to track, this bloody thing that is going to Sheffield, it's way too late and it's not picking up any. It's just a PR exercise. So they do nothing for the away fans. The list goes on. So what are we protesting about? We've put it under the umbrella of the 10-point plan. What we're protesting about is the board treating the supporters with disdain. That is what we're protesting about. We want change, and we want change quick. And what we've suggested at the sort of brief, well, it was an hour and a half at the meeting. We're looking for them, I think I've already said it, to rejig the official supporters board and do it that way. We want the official supporters board started again, for want of a better word. Probably give it a new name so people realise it's completely different. We want it democratically elected people. I might not get on. I don't know if I want to get on, but I might not get on. I might not get elected. You could stand. Someone we don't even know could stand. Let's get it democratically elected, and let's get it on these issues quick. In the meantime, people must understand. West Ham may well meet us and say, well, thanks very much. That's a good idea. We'll do that, and we'll get back to you in 3 months. And our people, they want to see something change soon. And surely, what they'll say is, oh, the stadium issues, and we pay our money, or you pay your money as season ticket holders to West Ham. And West Ham need to get together with LS 185, I think they call themselves, and sort this stewarding out once and for all. And this away people once and for all. So that would be a good start.
So, okay, let me play devil's advocate here for just a moment. Imagine I'm Karen Brady. I appreciate that's particularly difficult to do, but I'm going to suspend belief for a moment. Let's try it out. So I've granted you the meeting you've been asking for. What is it you want me to do in terms of what I can actually do?
Me personally, I've not discussed this with the committee yet. I know they'll all be watching this. They may throw their arms up in horror. This is a personal thing. I would like to see those hundreds of supporters that are banned for non-criminal offences. I committed a criminal offence. I didn't murder anyone. It's a criminal offence. I would like to see those supporters banned for non-criminal offences. I would like to see them given an amnesty and basically allowed back in the ground. And I think that would be a nice little sweetener to put our way. But basically, what they need to do is change their whole attitude. Doesn't have to be a fight with their fans all the time. We're supposed to be their supporters. It needs a new, enlightened attitude, a new way forward. And personally, I think a good way of making a statement to the fans, this is a new way forward, is to give that amnesty. But I've not cleared that with the committee or our members. That's my personal view.
Now, you could say, you could argue that, okay, they've been in charge for a decade now.
Yeah.
It's the old does a leopard change its spot scenario. Do you ever see them conceding these points and changes? Do you think it's realistic what you're asking?
Well, firstly, I should have mentioned this earlier, it is 10 years. The protest is 10 years to the day. So we will be protesting on the 18th of January 2020. They took power on the 19th of January. They might do a lot in the last day. Hopefully they'll get it all done in the last day. But in the first 9 years, 364 days, they've not done it. Can they change? I hope so. I mean, I don't think it's hard for them to change. I don't think it's a difficult thing. But they have to understand, and we at Hammers United understand, and our critics are going to have to understand, we can't just keep on talking. If the club are not going to meet, okay, they've met. But if they're not going to talk constructively and positively and try and fob us off, well, Hammers United either have got to disband or completely relook at how we do things, or we've got to protest. They don't leave us any choice. So I think they can change. And I hope that with the Football Supporters Association very much endorsing where we're coming from and our position, I'm hoping they will change. I have to be hopeful. And if not, well then we protest. We've already spoken to the police about both the protest and the feasibility of a march. That has been endorsed by the police, so it can happen. And if the club maybe say, all right, we're not going to meet you because you're having a protest, if the club won't talk positive, then we'll have to have a march.
Thinking ahead, I mean, where does that end? Well, what's the end game there? If you march and the club dig their heels in even more, and then you protest again,
where does it end? Well, at the moment, the protest is not for Gold Sullivan Brady. I appreciate a lot of people watching this, that's what they want. And I appreciate a lot of people protesting, that is what they want. At the moment it's not. The protest is for change. But if they will not change, then I think the goalposts move. Bit by bit those goalposts move. And if they will not change and they refuse to change, then the protest then changes itself into Gold Sullivan Brady. And I appreciate that would not be easy. But what I've always said, and I said right from the start, people laughed at me. It's on record, I'm not going to mention the sites, it's on form. 6 people that get around the table, said by very prominent people. You're wasting your time. Idiots, all the rest of it. You've nearly got 8,000 members now, okay? You'll never get recognised by the FSA. Well, I honestly believe, and this is a plea, all the fans groups and all the forums and everyone was on one side, that could be achieved.
There was a similar idea 2 years ago.
Yep.
When the one specific group led that, and they tried to get everybody together. I sat on this very sofa, actually, I think it's the same one, and spoke to the leaders about that. Everyone came together, and as we know now, it all fell apart in the most spectacular fashion.
Yep.
What guarantees, if any, can you give the fan base that, or anyone who is considering joining your protest, that isn't going to happen this time? Can you give them guarantees?
I cannot give guarantees. What I can say is, firstly, we have started to speak to other fans groups. We've started to speak to individuals that are influential within the fans. And the next time we do that, the FSA are going to jump on the talks because they can give us a lot of invaluable advice. And when the small march did take place, they were used by the police in an advisory capacity. I can't guarantee you, but what I can guarantee is that we will learn from the mistakes made last time. That's not to say we'll get everything right, and it won't fall apart. Personally, I don't think it will. I think people will learn from those mistakes. And I personally have always said failure is not an option. Because if this does fail, then West Ham as I know it, and West Ham as a lot of our members know it, is no more. It's as simple as that, and I plead with all my personal friends, please, if it's too cold or it's raining, I know I said this before, or the trains are up, but you've just got to get there. This is the only chance, and it's been so difficult because of what happened last time. it's been made doubly difficult. People said, no, I did it once, all fell apart, I'm not doing it again. A lot of those people have now come on board, some haven't. This is the last chance, because if it falls apart again, it will never get this far again. So it's up to the people to either support us or put up with it.
And we've obviously spoken about it privately, but just explain to everybody who may be listening to this why you've decided to protest. And we've obviously got the date, we know it's exactly 10 years to the day that they'll have purchased the club. Why now?
Right. Well, we were obviously considering protest, but probably we wouldn't have protest as early as this. Our protest is not results driven, but I appreciate it does sour the mood out there. Okay. And we're on record for the last 10 months. People can follow it through. It's never been results driven. And we were mentioning this sort of thing when West Ham had the very good start to the season. But we were inundated. When are you going to stop talking? When are you going to do something? We're sick of all the talk. We've heard all the talk before. You're no different from anyone else. You're a waste of time. We were getting inundated with calls to protest. So, yeah, we had our own personal integrity there. We felt if we don't do something, people are all going to say you're a waste of time. But also there's a bigger duty. I am certain there would have been protests, sporadic protests, not organised properly. Could have been a bit of trouble here and there. And we felt someone had to step in.
Let's just make it clear.
Yeah.
We're talking specifically about inside the ground. It's that you're looking to avoid, yes?
Yeah, we don't want trouble inside, well, not trouble, protests inside the ground, because the team are in deep shit. I'm telling you now, I'm no football. If we lose at Sheffield United, we're in trouble. Just look at the fixtures, because we've got all the hard games coming up, and we could be too far behind after those hard games. The team are in big shit. We're all West Ham supporters at the end of the day, and we've got to get behind them. And so protests inside the ground are a bit of a no-no. Also, from our personal point of view, 20,000 of our supporters don't go in the ground. So obviously it's in our own interest to hold protests outside the ground. But we just felt we were pressurised into it at that time. We would have preferred to wait a little while. We just feel that, there were people there with the pitchforks and the burning torches ready to burn the place down, basically, and we felt we had to step in. Now, I've been criticised and we've been criticised. Well, who do you think you are? Well, the fact is, someone, we felt, had to take the baton. No one else, it seemed, was going to do it. So we did it. It would have suited me fine if someone else had done it. It would save me a lot of work. But that's the reason. Now, people come back to the timing. Well, there is a symbolic timing there, as I've said. But also, some people are saying, you were only protesting because the team were losing. And it looks like you're fickle. And we said, well, look, when's a good time to protest? We've always said it's not. But they said that, the team were losing. Well, the team are winning now. So now what are they saying? What are you protesting about? So you can't win.
Do you accept, though, that there will be some people on the march who are there because of the negative results? I mean, I understand what you're saying, and it's something I totally agree with you with. But is there that benefit now to the protest that the numbers can potentially be swelled because of the...
If you'd have asked me that question 2 weeks ago, I'd have held my hands up and said, yeah, but West Ham have won the last 2 games. They've got a new manager.
We even won a cup game against the lower league side.
Yeah, we did a miracle. And he played his full team, which is great, because I, for one, have been on so many. In the old days, I've seen them get beat, but they put their best team out. But now, I mean, they don't put the best. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. So that was really, really good. So I hear what you say, mate, but they won the last 2 games. So possibly, let's put it this way, 2 weeks ago, there probably would have been more people on the protest than there will be now. But our protest is not results driven. The reason it's being done at this time is that so many people are saying all you're doing is talking, you're not doing anything. Will you do something? And I have to say, why are West Ham leaving us? The MP wrote to them, he never got a reply. They have phoned him, basically saying that I'm the devil incarnate, but he's not had an official reply. They've ignored all the laid down governance guidelines, and all of a sudden, when a protest starts to get mentioned, they're going to meet us. So you can make your own observations.
In terms of where the protest is going to take place, now, by the time by the time I get round to putting this together, Hammers United will have announced
Right.
the specifics. So can you tell us?
Yeah. Well, for the people that are listening to this, it's now 12:05. At 1 o'clock, I've got a meeting with my colleague with Peter Swords. It's Peter Swordy, and he's the stadium safety manager for LS 185. We've had 2 meetings with the police. They've endorsed the protest. They're happy that it's going to be a peaceful, orderly protest. And the only police presence that will be there is 2 spotters. That's how happy they are that everything will be law-abiding. And I stress for those of you listening, I know there's going to be a lot of women there. There's going to be lots of kids there. I personally know 2 pregnant ladies are going to be there. We've got to behave. There's nothing more Karen Brady would love to jump on if it's just a disorderly rabble drinking cans of special brew and chucking it all up in the air. So please, we've really got to show them that we're professional, we mean business. It is a protest, so of course people are going to shout and holler and sing. We've got to be a little bit careful what people sing. The police will jump in if they think it's getting a bit over the top. But the police have recommended to the guy I'm about to meet in 55 minutes that he lets us on the private land near the ground. For those of you who don't realise, the reason that we're meeting these people is it's private land, the land around the ground. And if we just turned up there, they'd just move us off it. So the police have recommended to the safety officer that he lets us on one of these things. So I'll be meeting him at 1 o'clock, and then we'll find an exact time, exact place. I can tell everyone now, it'll be very near the ground, and it'll be before the FA game.
Okay. So the game
coming
3
up
p.m.
against-
kickoff.
it's a
Yes,
3 p.m.
that's
kickoff.
right. So
one assumes the protest, but I don't want to say at times. Some
how
people,
long do you think it lasts for, Paul?
I'd like it to last about an hour.
Okay.
And then basically half the crowd will go in and cheer the team on, and half the crowd will go to Plaistow, watch the games there.
Okay. Do you intend to have any speakers, for example?
I would expect to speak, and I would expect Tross to speak, though he's flying in from who knows where early that morning. And I've a couple of others. We've got a good man, he actually speaks at the UN. He's no fool. He may speak. As always with me, the technicality of it, it's no good telling me to plug something in or anything. Someone will have to show me how to do that. If someone can plug me into whatever it takes, I'm quite happy to speak, and I'm sure others will.
If the club ignore this protest and just carry on as before, when do you envisage perhaps staging another protest or a march?
Right.
What sort of time period or scale are you looking
There's
at?
2 schools of thought. We could march against Brighton, but should we give them a little bit longer to see the transfer window? Because Brighton's the day after the transfer window, so we'll have to discuss that. There is a game, there is a gap actually, and then there's a home game at the end of the month. I can't remember what it is. We now, of course, have got a home cup match, so there's 3 alternatives. What we can't do is wait forever. So Brighton is a possibility. I know some of my committee think that's a bit soon. If they go and sign Messi in the transfer window and they agree to meet and they say we'll disband the OSB and everything else. So I don't know. But what I can tell you is if we were to continue protests in March, with the 18th of January, it would be at the latest by the end of February. But the Brighton game is a possibility. But we're protesting about, you could almost call it a vision, an entity. You can't say in one word unless you use the word change. Would we protest about the changing of the bands? Would we protest about the stewards? Possibly. Would we protest about the away fans? Unlikely. There's 100 things. But when you put the whole lot, and as one guy put on your site, all these roads lead to Rome. They all lead back to the same thing, the board. And that's what we're protesting about, really. With the 10-point plan, of course, the 10th point was, quote, arguably most important of all, listen to supporters, brackets, who follow us every week and are the true owners. Because they don't treat us like we're the true owners, do they? I'll keep using the same expression. I say I think they've been treated with disdain. I'll go one further. I think they're treated with contempt. There's no other words I can use. When we first moved to the Soulless Bowl, I said to Bill Gardner, the coach, Bill, I don't want to move either. But look, forget all this Champions League rubbish. If we can start challenging seriously for 7th, and we can stick a few cup finals in there, not every bloody year, but now and again, I'll have to hold my hands up and say, do you know what? They said what they said they would. Obviously, that's not happened. But when we moved, 24 of us had season tickets together. And I said, I know this great pub we can go to. It's called the Railway. I said, maybe things won't be as bad as what we think they will. And then we had to do the walk from the railway to the ground. When I'm 63, I'm in reasonable shape. What's good for me now is I've always been little. All my mates have always been big muscle men. But now as age catch up, they're muscle men with big bellies. And so I'm still skinny and little. Half the 24 fell by the wayside. They struggled with the walk. And we got in the ground. I couldn't believe it. I've got bad eyesight. It was like Subbuteo men. And out of that 24, 21 have packed it in. There's 3 left. 3 left out of the 24. And out of those 3, all 3 are coming on the protest. And that is the sad thing. And that's the tragedy. And the whole social aspect of this is not been, it's been overlooked. If this was any other business, there'd be a big outcry. It's the social thing. These people have been going for decades, and their families before them and before that, and they've just fallen by the wayside.
To those people who may not be sure about whether to come or not, who may be sharing your views on the board and the lack of development of the club, what would you say to them?
Well, to my personal friends, I'm pleading with you. I'm on my knees for you to come and don't let us down. But to the broader fan base, if you're not happy with what's been going on, you've really got to either put up or shut up. You've either got to accept the Soulless Bowl, and you've got to move on, and you've got to accept the away fans in the West Ham bits, and you've got to accept stewarding, and you've got to accept all that goes with it, or you've got to make a stand. And sometimes people have to make a stand, whether they be women, children, men, and the police are very happy that it's going to be orderly. I've got personal friends going, women, kids, old people in wheelchairs. It will be peaceful. When you go on the Hornchurch coach, for example, to away games, that is self-policed. Not by great big bruisers with big muscles, they all used to be, but they're old men now. But there are ways of self-policing, and there'll be a lot of good people there that are respected and known. There just won't be any trouble. There's no chance there'll be any trouble. And I think it'll go really well. But again, I ask for your support.